Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And I have a wonderful guest today. Dr. Larry Farwell is here. He's written a book. It's called The Science of Creating Miracles. And if you're watching me on YouTube, I'm holding his book up. This is what we're going to talk about today. Let me just give you an idea. Now, this book and the workshops, Dr. Farwell, he conducts, provide a practical guide to success and happiness in life. Based on his groundbreaking scientific research, Dr. Larry Farwell weaves together neuroscience, quantum physics, expansion of consciousness, and effective techniques you can use to live a truly extraordinary life. Now, Time magazine selected Dr. Larry Farwell to the Time 100, the next wave, the top innovators of the century. So like Picasso and Einstein of the 21st century. And he's been featured on CBS News, ABC World News, CNN, CBS 60 Minutes, 48 Hours, ABC Good Morning America, PBS, BBC, and it goes on. Welcome officially to High Road to Humanity.
Delightful to be here, Nancy. Thank
I'm
you.
glad you're here. Well, this is a really interesting book, you guys. So make sure you share this show. This is going to be a good one. But before we get into it, I just want to read a headline. This is High Road to Humanity, and I want to let people know what's going on. And this comes from the New York Times. The headline reads, "Police forces swell in Ottawa as prelude to clampdown." So more than 100 police have assembled in a staging area with heavy equipment, and Ottawa police have issued a new warning that protesters must immediately leave or face arrest. Now, 22 days after a trucker convoy rumbled into the nation's capital to protest pandemic restrictions, the police moved in to clamp down on the protesters in downtown Ottawa, Friday morning. And today is Friday, by the way. And they're hoping to end the weeks of gridlock that have ruled the city. And, you know, I don't know. I have to say I'm with the truckers for standing out because they stood up for what they believed in. And I think that's fantastic. And I'm really sorry that it's actually come to this and all the situation. But I do want to bring it to people's attention. What's going on? They are standing up, and God bless them for that. And Larry, do you have anything you want to say about it, or?
Well, yes, they're standing up for what they believe in, and then of course the government has their perspective of establishing order. I can see both sides of that. I think that a rise in level of consciousness and a rise in the level of harmony in human consciousness will make us all more likely to take the high road, as you would maybe put it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and yeah. Yeah. Well, it's affecting people. And, you know, obviously it's emotional, or they wouldn't have gone to this extreme. And so, you know, this comes from the heart, you know, so it's really interesting. And I'm glad that we're talking about it today. I'm glad you're here. I would like for you, if you wouldn't mind, tell the audience your story briefly. I mean, how did you get into this work? I know your father was in this, was a scientist. Is that correct? Yeah. And maybe you could, physicist. Maybe you could just give us an idea. You do talk in the book about an experience you had when you were 13, a drowning experience also. So I don't know how you want to preface this, but yeah, give us some background.
Well, all right, I can start there. It's not. Sometimes I start with the science. I'd be happy to start with my experience. Well, I was 13 years old, and I was drowning, and I mean literally drowning, as in underwater and not able to breathe. And I got to the point where I thought I had only a few seconds to live. And at that time, several things happened at once. Once I've read and heard, well, when you're drowning, your whole life flashes before your eyes. Well, that happened. I saw my whole life just as clearly as this, except all at once. So it was a real experience of expansion of consciousness for me. Another thing that happened is I realized, okay, it's over. There's nothing more I can do. And you have all those things. Well, this didn't turn out quite right, and maybe I'll go back someday and fix it somehow. Well, I had to let go of all that because there wasn't any someday anymore. And as I let go of any attachment to anything, and essentially let go of my life, a third thing happened, which is really the most important or significant for me part of the experience. And that is that I felt like I saw my life as I had never seen it before. I felt like I'd woken up from a dream. I felt like, oh, now I see what my life was. And I saw that it was completely perfect, just the way it was. It was what it was. There was nothing to change, nothing to fix. I had no regrets at all that it was ending at age 13 because it was just all there. Now, it's not that I didn't see the mistakes and the pain and all of that. It's just that it was what it was, and I could take it for what it was. And I had that sense, if I only could see my life this way, everything would be fine.
Mhm.
And
I have a question. I have a quick question. Did you see it or did you feel it or both?
Well, I felt, well, when my life flashed before my eyes, I saw it, but
Right.
I felt that experience on the level of consciousness that, oh, this is perfect. This is what my real life is. Now I see it. Never saw it before. And then I got to the surface. I was spitting water. The experience was gone. And I thought, okay, I have seen my life. I've experienced my life the way it really is. Now I want to get to that experience. So it was at that point, age 13, that I became a seeker. And I started to read all the spiritual books I could. I took all the courses I could. I did all the meditation technique. I did everything I could to get to what I discovered was the real life.
Yeah.
When I went to Harvard, I studied the brain and I studied neuroscience because I knew that if I want to bring the spiritual world, if I want to bring consciousness into the realm of science, I had to learn about the science of the brain. And then, of course, there was quantum physics, which I did with my dad.
Right. Well, this is really interesting. So I'm going to kind of move a little forward. There's a quote that I wrote down. It says, when you gain command of the inner field of your own consciousness, you can create the life you desire and accomplish anything in life. And this is what a lot of us, what I've been teaching on the show, and a lot of people who come on my show talk about right now, is growing the inside, not the outside, the inside. And that's what you really figured out too. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes. Well, first of all, with respect to creating your life, with respect to creating miracles, and a miracle is simply an improbable event. Nothing is impossible in the field of quantum mechanics. Anything is possible. Some things are probable, some things are highly improbable. My dad and I decided to investigate that. All the great spiritual traditions and all the books that came out on how to be successful last week tell you, you have that inner vision on the level of your consciousness. You enliven nature, you enliven the unified field, the conscious unified field in that vibration, and then it shows up in your life. Well, we decided that we would test that. We would say, well, can we create miracles? Can we create extremely improbable events just on the level of consciousness? Now, you've probably had the experience, and your viewers have had the experience, oh, I'd really like to hear from Joe, and the phone rings and it's Joe.
Right.
But you don't know the probability, so you can't say, oh, that was a scientific experiment. We do know the probability exactly of alpha particle emission by plutonium, which is one of the major ingredients of an atomic bomb. My dad was involved in that original invention.
Yeah, talk about this. You had a piece of plutonium. You tell this in the book, so I kind of want to stop you a second, if you don't mind. I mean, tell the audience about this. You were young, you were experiencing, and you had a piece of plutonium because your dad had it left over. And talk about this and how you decided this is what this kind of experiment you were going to do. I find this very fascinating.
Well, all right. Well, first of all, as to how my dad had plutonium, I mean, he was involved in creating the original atomic bomb. I mean, at that time, excuse me,
Crazy.
at that time, plutonium-240 hadn't even been discovered. There wasn't a nuclear regulatory commission. I mean, today you couldn't get plutonium,
Right.
but he had it back from when nobody knew what it was.
Right.
There wasn't a nuclear regulatory commission. And as to how I got involved in this with my dad, I was sitting at lunch. Excuse me. I was sitting at lunch in a restaurant with my dad. And I said, hey, Dad, anything is possible. And he said, yes, any imaginable configuration of quantum particle wave phenomena is possible. Some things are improbable, some things are probable. I said, it's possible that all the elementary particles that make up my body and yours will tunnel to the other side of the moon, along with enough air to breathe, and tunneling's a known phenomenon in quantum mechanics, and we'll carry on this conversation there. He said, yeah, you're right. And in fact, and he got out a piece of paper, a paper napkin, and he wrote a formula, and he calculated the approximate probability that that would happen. It's actually a finite probability, very low, didn't happen. We continued the conversation in the restaurant. But the point is that we knew that there was a such thing as improbable events in quantum mechanics, and they could happen. What we wanted to test is, can we create those miracles? Can we make something improbable happen using our consciousness? So we set up an experiment to measure the distribution of alpha particle emission by plutonium, which we know mathematically what that should be if we don't change it. And we found that functioning from the level of consciousness alone, just by having that desire and intention, enlivening the conscious unified field in that, we could create shifts that were way off the statistics charts. I mean, one part in 5,000 that just couldn't happen by chance. And now what that means for your viewers is anytime.
Yeah, you literally sat there in your chair, you said, and looked at the computer with the plutonium and you watched it change. Tell that real quick, if you don't mind, before we go to break.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, so we set up an experiment where we could shift that probability distribution. I won't go into the technical details of what that means, but it means we were creating an improbable event. And there were little graphs on the screen that would move up and down, seeing if you were able to do that, if you were able to create an extremely unlikely event. And we found that we could. And so what that means is that if we can shift that probability, we can create any unlikely, we can create miracles. And that's how we drive our brains. That's how we create our lives.
All right, we'll talk more about it when we come back. You guys, I'm here today with Dr. Larry Farwell. The book is The Science of Creating Miracles, Neuroscience, Quantum Physics, and Living the Life of Your Dreams. And this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Dr. Larry Farwell. The book is The Science of Creating Miracles. And I was just starting to ask him on the break and decided to just ask him on the show. You know, I've done affirmations my whole career as a real estate broker. And then afterwards, I still do affirmations because I believe in the vibration that goes out into the universe. And I believe whatever you think, whatever you feel, whatever you desire, goes out into the universe and the universe complies. So whatever you say, whatever you think, you're creating your reality. And what you've done is you've gone to prove that. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly what we proved in the scientific laboratory, that you create a desire, intention on the level, you create a vibration on the level of your consciousness, and that moves the conscious unified field, which is the unified field that the universe springs from, the particle wave phenomena of quantum mechanics spring from. You enliven nature in that vibration, and then it shows up in your life. And the key is to do that at as subtle a level as possible, to tune into who you truly are, to tune into that level of your life, which is the conscious unified field, which is the field of nature. And then you create a very powerful vibration at that level, and it shows up in your life.
You keep saying nature, and I like this. Talk about that part of it. You say when I change my vibration and then it goes out, then everything else changes too. Talk about that. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Tell the audience.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to geek out for just a minute on the physics of the physical universe.
Fine, okay? Go for it.
This desk in front of me, you can hear me hit it.
Right.
It looks brown and solid to me and very different from the air around it. But if you look more closely, it's not solid, it's mostly empty space. There are molecules moving around very quickly. You look within them, you see atoms. Look within them, you see elementary particles, protons, neutrons, electrons. You look at those very carefully, you see quarks, you look within them, and you'll see vibrating strings at the level of string theory. So this desk is only a pattern of vibrations in the unified field. And that is the conscious unified field, because as all the spiritual traditions teach, and as we've proved in the laboratory, functioning on that level of consciousness, you can enliven nature. So when I say nature, I mean, in terms of quantum physics, I mean that unified field that particle wave phenomena spring from that make up the physical creation. When I'm talking about from perspective of experience, I mean your inner consciousness. The real you, who you truly are, is that unbounded awareness. And the limited parts of our life are only limited expressions of who you really are.
Right. Because we choose to limit them. We don't expand them. We can.
Yeah, and we can, yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is really cool. There was one thing I wrote down a bunch of notes.
Good.
A lot of people are starting to go within, and I just found it interesting that you saw a billboard that for the Marines that said battles are won within. That was like, yes, they're getting it. They're getting it because we have to go within. We just have to go within. And you give scientific evidence that miracles can be created and dreams can come true. Now, I didn't get through the whole thing, but talk a little bit about what do you think? Do you think it's our thoughts? Do you believe in affirmations? Do you believe in visualization? What do you tell people the best way to do it? Do you believe in just meditating and being connected, or what's the best way to create what you want?
All right. Well, all of the above.
Okay.
I mean, we did that research 20 years ago, and I've spent the last 20 years developing techniques to tune in to who you truly are.
Right.
Now, the thing is, who we are within, at essence, is that pure consciousness. Now, meditation, especially transcendental meditation, can tune you into that field. Simply getting the experience of who you are, just taking your awareness inward, getting the experience of what's the real Nancy? Who's the real Nancy? What does it feel like to be the real me? Tuning into yourself, taking your awareness inward, puts you more in touch with the subtler levels of your life. There's the intellect, there's the emotions, they're more on the surface. There's a level of intuition. So when you're experiencing a desire, an affirmation, a vision at a very quiet level, a subtle level, where you get by letting go, not by holding on and focusing.
Right.
That is the most powerful level from which to create your life.
It's just to be still, like they say, be in the now, be in the moment, and just relax.
Yes. I mean, be still and know that you are God.
Yeah, we are art because we're all little creators. And I love it that you're talking about this because we create our reality. We're responsible. Now you talk about reprogramming the brain. And I'm real big on this too, because, and you talk about self-worth and we'll get into that a little bit, but I've been working on reprogramming a lot of my stuff. And a lot of it comes, I've learned, and I want you to talk about it from just childhood and growing up and repeating the same thing that your parents said, because I catch, we all catch ourselves, saying the same things our parents said, but then you start to be aware.
Yes.
And then you change it. Well, why am I saying that? I don't really mean that. That isn't coming from me. That's something I was programmed with. So talk about this and why it's so important.
All right. Well, we all carry around within ourselves an inner blueprint of who we are. And when something tends to challenge that, it usually challenges our safety, our power, or our value. Something comes along that we find is triggering. It seems to be challenging one of those things. So we carry around a blueprint that we're only 75% safe and 64% powerful and 83% valuable. Whereas the real reality is that we're 100% safe, powerful, valuable. And that's the real you. So tuning into that level of life is the key to expressing who you really are. And there's something that you actually can use and your viewers can use that is a useful tool for doing that. And that has to do with, I know you're going to ask me about this in a minute anyway, that has to do with how you reprogram the brain. And take a look at how the brain learns. You're crawling around on the floor, you're 2 years old, you touch the floor, you touch the table, you touch the wall. None of that means much. Nothing there really to learn. You already know about that. You touch the hot stove and aha, it gets your attention. It's a triggering experience. Measuring your brain waves, you would have a brain response that I've discovered and studied called a memory and encoding related multifaceted electroencephalographic response, MER, murmur. When you have one of those murmur moments, it's like an aha moment. Your brain is open for reprogramming. Now, when you have a situation that's triggering to you, that's troubling to you, that really gets to you, that you don't like, you usually try to avoid. Somebody says or does something that really, really gets you. You can turn that around, because that creates a murmur moment. That creates an aha moment. That opens your brain for reprogramming. So instead of shooting the messenger, instead of reacting externally or reacting internally and saying, oh gosh, maybe I really am horrible or whatever, tune into who you truly are. Get a feeling for, oh, okay, yeah, the inner sense of the real me, the 100% powerful, 100% safe, 100% valuable, the on the quiet level of your consciousness. Tune into the real you, and then use that experience of triggering, instead of triggering a reaction or a negative view of yourself, it triggers you to think, oh, okay, I'll turn my awareness, I'll tune into who I really am. And then you come out of that experience, instead of it being something that's damaging, that experience that may remind you of something negative, it comes out as being a trigger, a reminder to tune into who you really are. So you can take those negative experiences and turn them around, those murmur moments, and turn them around to be something which is evolutionary.
Right. I think what I've learned is, as I have meditated more,
Yes.
I look at things from a different perspective. So instead of letting it trigger me, I look at it from a higher perspective,
Yes.
and I don't let it impact me. I think, oh, and I don't take it personally. You know what I'm saying to you?
Well, yeah, exactly. Because the real you, somebody came along and said, you have the ugliest red hair I've ever seen.
Mhm.
No impact, because you just, okay, this person just doesn't have very good color perception.
Yeah.
Different taste. And the reality is that all those things that come at us, they're not really a threat. They only appear to be. I mean, you take a higher perspective, what's really going on here? Okay, somebody doesn't like my hair. Somebody has this opinion about me, or has this differing view, or says this or does that. It really doesn't affect who you are and what you're creating in your life. And when you have that perspective, as you do, none of those things really shake you up.
Well, it changes things. You look at things differently. Like, I've had my daughter say something to me the other day. And when it's your kids, it kind of hurts your feelings. You're like, oh, they don't. But then I thought, oh, she just doesn't understand. She just, And so that's where I think we have to get as a people, to look at it and not take it so, because we were programmed, it seems like, so to react so quickly, to be so
Yeah.
defensive. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Out of touch with who you really are, 100%
Yeah.
safe and
Mhm.
valuable. So something comes along, you think, oh my gosh, that's an attack on my value. Well, it really isn't.
Right.
And you're right. As you gain that expanded awareness, you gain a broader perspective on those things, and they don't get to you so much.
Yeah. And then you start to think, well, that person obviously is having a bad day and they're working on it. So they're taking their situation out on you, but then you can see that. So then you don't take it so personally. That's how I've gotten to look at things. What do you think?
Yes, you can see that. You don't take it so personally, and then you can have some compassion for them. That that person, it's not something about me. That person's
It's
in
about
pain.
them. Yeah. That's true. All right, we're going to commercial break. I'm here with Dr. Larry Farwell. I'm so glad he came to visit. The Science of Creating Miracles, you guys. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity, and I'm here today with Dr. Larry Farwell. The book is The Science of Creating Miracles. Larry, if people want to get this, Amazon, do you have a website?
I have a website. It's drlarryfarwell.com. Also, you can get the book on Amazon. Yes.
And local bookstores, I'm sure. This is amazing. Deepak Chopra wrote a little deal in here for you. I mean, you've had a lot of praise for the book. When did it actually come out?
It came out June a year ago.
Okay. And how has it been received? I would imagine really well.
Well, it very quickly became a #1 bestseller on Amazon.
Yeah. Wow. And it's changed people's lives, I would imagine.
Well, yes, I've heard from so many people. It's changed so many lives. And Marcy Shimoff wrote a foreword to the book, and she also is an expert in miracles and has inspired many people to create miracles in their lives. So among my professional colleagues and many people have gotten in touch with me. I teach these workshops on science of creating miracles, and yes,
Cool.
they do transmute people's lives.
Awesome. Tell me about your workshops.
All right. There are workshops. Well, workshop one, the introductory one, is 10 sessions, and each of those is 2 hours. It meets in the evening time on Pacific Coast time.
Right.
And part of it will be some of the things we've been doing now, talking about the science of creating miracles. We'll talk about the science, but part of it will be sharing about miracles people are creating in their lives. But most of it is actually practicing techniques to develop this command of yourself, command of the laws of nature, this attunement with your true self, which is the fertile ground on which miracles spring in your life, to develop the capacity to reliably create miracles. We've all had miraculous experiences, and the techniques that we've developed and teach in the workshops allow people to do that systematically and scientifically.
That's fun. Yeah, I always teach people, and I've taught people how to do that, how to do affirmations and how to visualize. And I always tell everybody to first thing to do is to visualize a parking spot wherever they're going, and to know that they're going to have the parking spot up front. And it works. It's so great. And I don't know if you've ever done this, but I do it all the time. And I just know that it's going to be there, and it always is. So it's the power of intention and knowing. They talk about the power of the spoken word and the power of intention, but you also have to believe. And that's a big part of it. You have to have an unwavering faith. Do you want to address that a little bit?
Well, yes. And you have one way of saying having unwavering faith is to say that you know who you are. You're in tune with the real you, because the reality is that you, at essence, are this unbounded field of pure consciousness, the conscious unified field from which the universe springs. So when you're in tune with yourself, you naturally believe that you can create, because you can. You have that experience. I mean, the belief and the experience go hand in hand. It's an autocatalytic situation where the experience creates a belief, the belief creates the experience, and the two
manifest. It manifests. Yeah. Well, and I've told people this for years. I mean, if you continually say, I will never be thin, you won't. And if you, and I've learned these things. I've tried to talk to people and teach them, there are times where, gosh, I need a new red dress. And so I will project that new red dress will be in the window or be at the store, and it will be, and that it's on sale. I mean, you can go to that extreme of manifestation, and it's wonderful that all of us are starting to wake up to this. What do you think?
I agree. And about I'll never be thin. When you're creating a vision, it's important that all the different areas of your life be in tune. Some people may think an affirmation, okay, I want to be thin, I'm thin, I want to, etc. But what they're experiencing on the emotional level is the lack of that, the feeling that they're not thin, not liking their body. So what nature is being enlivened in is a mixed message. It's important to experience not only the thought about it, but to experience the feeling of being that way, to experience the reality, and to experience on the emotional level, on the intellectual level, and on the quiet intuitive level all at once, because then your affirmation becomes powerful. If you're just saying something and pushing it, but inside you're feeling the opposite. Oh, I'd like to have a lot of money. I want $1 million. But what you're feeling is, oh man, I don't have any money now.
You're in trouble.
That gives a live nature in that. So it's important to have that, to be in tune with yourself about all this.
Well, and I want you to tell the audience what happened to you about this book, because I'll tell you what, it made me smile when you because I got it. I was like, oh my God. So you were putting this book together, you'd done all the scientific experiments, but things weren't going well.
Oh, yes. Well,
talk about that, because you need to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, all right. Well, things weren't going well is sort of a mild way to put it. I'm a forensic neuroscientist. And in addition to all the work I do in creating miracles and training people in that, I invented a system called brain fingerprinting, which allows you to detect concealed information in the brain. I do a lot of counterterrorism work in the Middle East.
Right.
Involved dealing with some very very destructive people.
Mhm.
And I had done a lot of that work, and I was finding that things just weren't working out, and the contracts weren't coming through. My trips planned over there weren't happening, and I sort of sat down and had a talk with myself about, okay, similar to what I'd have with someone else.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on here? How are you creating this? And what I got was that I was afraid. And one of the reasons I was afraid is that we deal with some bad people over there. And I thought, okay, everything's fine. I'd gone over there many times with my second in command and best friend, who used to be who was originally the chief of counterterrorism for the FBI. He did a lot of work all around the world. And then some things happened that really shook me up. One is that he was killed. Another is that another guy up against the same bad guys that we were was also kidnapped and tortured and killed. And I thought to myself, well, man, if they had as good security as you could get, it wasn't enough. If they can get them, they can get me. So I was afraid. And my own fear, I was giving the universe mixed messages, just as I said, okay, so I want to really get this done. I want to go over there. I can save a lot of lives with this. But inside I was afraid. And so what I did is I said, well, if I've proven people can create miracles. You can create a vision on the level of your consciousness, and you can create that in your life. Well, this is a perfect example. I can create the inner vision of going over there, doing my work, training the people in this science that allows them to exonerate innocent people and catch the bad guys, and come home safe with my entire team. I can create that on the level of my consciousness. I thought, hey, great, I can apply science of creating miracles. I can create that just as well as I can create a parking spotter, just as well as I can create any other things that I've successfully done in my life. So once I got it, that I could apply my own science to it. Once I got it, that I could create that inner vision and realize it, I wasn't afraid anymore, because I had nothing. I realized that my consciousness was what was going to create what happened. Yeah. And I did. I went over there. I trained the people. I did all of the work, the counterterrorism work. Came back. Everybody was safe. I was safe. I mean, if I can save other people's lives, I can save my own life too. Yeah. And so then I thought, okay, well, I had thought, well, it'd be hypocritical to publish this book if it wasn't working for me. And that after doing that, I realized that once again, yeah, this really does work. It works for me. Okay, I can publish the book. And
I thought it was wonderful that you put that in there, because it's real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's the truth. I'm the same way. I will tell people all day long to do affirmations. And then I'm like, oh, hello, Nance, maybe you should do your affirmations. I want to say to you that, and this is just an observation over the years, I started out in real estate doing affirmations. I sell houses like crazy, and I became Rookie of the Year. But now I didn't do them for a long time, and I would tell people to do them. Now I do them. I put them on 3x5 cards. The days that I don't say them, my days are not as good.
Yep.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. Because you're creating that vibration in nature. And it gets carried out in ways that none of us could predict.
Right. Really quickly, we're going to go to break here in a minute, but you, I hate to say quickly, but some of the work you did was that you were able to tell if people were telling the truth or not. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I invented brain fingerprinting. And what it does, for example, one of the first experiments we did was with the FBI, where we would present on a computer screen information that only an FBI agent would recognize due to their unique training. And when they saw that information, they would have that aha experience I was talking about. We'd pick up the brainwaves and we say, okay, that guy's an FBI agent. He knows those things. Similarly, we can detect a terrorist. They know certain things other people don't. We can detect who has committed a murder because they know details no one else does. So I developed that invention. I patented it. I applied it at the FBI and the CIA, and we used it to solve crimes. We put a serial killer away, J.B. Grinder, because we proved that he had the record of the murder of Julie Helton stored in his brain. We exonerated Terry Harrington, who was in prison for a murder he didn't commit, by showing the record in his brain didn't match the murder, did match his alibi. So that allows us to, that's an angle, a way of scientifically determining the truth.
So the courts looked at it and accepted that. That is
That's right.
fantastic. That
Well,
is
you-
really
Yep.
yeah, that's amazing. Hey, you guys, I'm here today with Dr. Larry Farwell. His book is The Science of Creating Miracles. This is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity. We're on our last segment here with Dr. Larry Farwell, and I'm so glad you came today, Larry. One of the things that you talk about in your book, and you guys, I was not able to make it through the whole thing, and there's so much information. He talks about the pineal gland in here. He talks about self-knowledge. I mean, it's really, really good. But one thing that really hit me personally was how to love yourself. And you said, those who have been seeking truth generally know that if you love yourself, everyone else will follow suit.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are looking, outside for love, whereas the beginning of love has got to be loving yourself. Just as it says in the book, if you love yourself, others will follow suit. And if you ask a 5-year-old, so remember to love yourself, she says, oh yeah, I almost forgot. But you say that to an adult, some people say, well, but how do you do that? And in my view, the key to loving yourself is knowing yourself. Know thyself. To know you is to love you. And when you tune into the real you, when you fully express who you are, when you see, well, what resonates with me? What does it feel like to be the real me? Not somebody that I might try to be, not somebody that I might project, not the image that I'm trying to project on Facebook, but the real me. What does it feel like to be the real me? You'll discover that in tuning within yourself, you discover, oh yeah, that is a very lovable person. Tuning into yourself, experiencing yourself, your inner self. Again, it's inward rather than outward. Gets to know you is to love you. Knowing yourself, knowing that real self, the 100% safe, 100% valuable, 100% powerful, the self that's on the quiet level of your intuition, knowing that within yourself, naturally you love yourself, and then you find everybody else doing it.
Yeah. Now, I believe that meditation is one way to accomplish this, because you have to quiet your mind. Not so much, a lot of people say I can't meditate, but it's really just quieting. And I run the energy. I bring energy down through, the body, and I believe that's very healing. What do you suggest that people can do to get into that kind of a mode? When they say, "How do you love themselves?" What do you tell them?
Well, all right. There are a number of techniques I teach in the workshops that would
Cool.
would take a while to go through.
Well, can you teach us one?
Well, let's see.
Teach us one, Larry. Come on.
Well, all right. What I was talking about before was what I call transmutation trigger, and that is your awareness is fluid, your consciousness is fluid. You can move, like right now I'm thinking about for a moment the forest on this side of me, or I can shift my attention to the ocean on this side. I'm on my boat, by the way.
Oh, are you really? God bless you. We should all be so lucky. Okay.
And so when something comes along that triggers you, the technique you can practice is, instead of reacting to that, instead of shooting the messenger or taking it out on yourself, tune into, okay, who's the real me? What do I tune into that 100% safe, 100% valuable, 100% powerful you within yourself. Tune into, when something comes along, you feel yourself being triggered, instead of reacting to that, use that as a trigger to open the brain up for reprogramming, as we talked about, like when you touch the hot stove.
Right.
So take note of, okay, what does it feel like to me? Who is the real me? Is the real me really threatened by whatever is coming along? Somebody says something, does something. Well, no. When you're experiencing yourself within, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day, thou canst not then be false to any other man, as Shakespeare said. Mm-hmm. Tune into your real self. So use those triggering experiences that used to trigger you and get you upset and make you reactive as a trigger to tune into yourself. And that is a technique that you can learn and practice.
That's really good. I like that. That's really cool.
And with respect to meditation, yes, I agree with you. Meditation, and it can be effortless. There are effortlessness techniques of meditation, and it involves, again, tuning into those quieter levels within yourself. And that's very valuable for developing your consciousness. Transcendental meditation is particularly useful.
Yeah, I don't meditate as long as I probably should, but I do tap in and I run the light down and I do that every day. I
Yes.
journal. I'm a real big journaler. I always tell the audience that it's really good to journal. And the reason I'm big on that is just because it gets all the stuff that gets in your head out onto paper. What do you think? Do you journal? Do you tell people to do that?
Well, let me look at the common ground here. I'm not big on journaling. However, what
Okay.
I'm big on is the essence of it, which is what's floating, what's bopping around in your head, getting that out on the surface and becoming aware of it. Now, some people do that by writing. There are other techniques for doing that, but it's really important to be aware of what's going on within you. Be aware of what your intellect. Sometimes people's intellect is pulling in one direction. I really should do this, but their emotions are pulling in another. It's good to be aware of, okay, well, this is what my intellect is telling me. This is what my emotions are saying. And then tune in, well, what's my intuition say on a quieter level? So being aware, whether you're writing it or speaking it to someone, sharing it with someone, or there are other ways you can do it within yourself. But being aware and bringing it to awareness, what's actually going on inside you, is really important. So
It's
to
the
that,
biggest thing. Yeah. What do you think about everybody talking about the Great Awakening? I see people waking up. It's really interesting right now. I see it as the Great Divide. Some people are awake, some people are not. It's really, and you can't wake them up. Everybody wakes up at their own time. What do you see? What's been happening with your, clients and stuff? Do you see a lot of it or?
oh, I see a tremendous amount of it. I mean, I've been doing this for quite a while.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found is that more and more and more people are waking up. I mean, you brought it out, quoting from my book, the Marines have a saying,
Yeah.
battles are won within. People are realizing, oh, there is such thing as consciousness, developing my own inner life, taking my awareness within, developing my consciousness, creating my life. It's something that people now are much attuned to. A few years ago, a decade or two ago, very few people were into that. And now a whole lot of people are. It's become much more mainstream. Now, there are people who are against that, who are very resistant to it. Yes. On the other hand, more and more people are waking up. I think there really is a great awakening taking place. And I think that is what is going to save the world.
I do too, as our vibration. And I don't know what percentage of us do need to raise our vibration, but as we wake up, our vibration raises. And that's what's going to be the ascension, I believe, in the next couple of years. What do you think?
I agree. We
Yeah.
do raise our vibration, and I could go down to the quantum mechanics physics of what we're talking about when we say raise our vibration, but we create a resonant frequency. It's like if you pluck a guitar string, it resonates at a frequency. If there's something, an instrument in the environment that has a similar resonant frequency, it resonates. We're creating a resonant frequency of peace, harmony, and love and self-knowledge. And we're sharing that among all the people whose consciousness is waking up in the world. And that is a very powerful influence that affects everybody.
It does. Whatever you do affects everybody else. Isn't that interesting? And we don't have a ton of time left, but I do want to ask you about music. Have you done any experiments? Because I'm big on sound and healing. Have you done any experiments on the healing powers of sound?
I have not done experiments in healing powers of sound.
Okay.
I'm a bit of a musician. I mean, I have.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, I have released one single song that I.
Oh, okay.
It's called Good Morning Sunshine. And my dad was a very good musician and was very much into not only the experience of music, he had perfect pitch, but the science of music. And he did some research on the relationship between sound and mind. So I very much, I'm not at all an expert in healing sounds, but I very much am a fan of that. I think that there are different vibrations, even on the sound level, certainly on the subtle level, the intuitive level, but on the sound level, different vibrations have different effects. And I'm very convinced that there are healing effects to sound. It's not something that I have personally researched.
Right. Oh, maybe you should. I always think the harp, for some reason, I feel like the harp is healing. And that's just intuitive knowing that. So anyway, that's my take on it. So you have done a song. That's really cool.
Yes. So
I'm sorry.
So yes, and I do love music. I love
You do
singing.
love music. You're a music lover. Well, Larry, I'm so glad you came. Now, if people want to take your classes or want to take your workshops or anything, give them out your information one more time before we get out of here today.
All right. drlarryfarwell.com, drlarryfarwell.com is my website, and all of the information is available there.
Okay. You guys, the book is The Science of Creating Miracles, Neuroscience, Quantum Physics, and Living the Life of Your Dreams. And it is a fantastic book. Hey, if you guys want an angel reading, go to my website, nancyyearout.com, and you can book your date and time. And I'm pulling angel cards every day on TikTok and having a lot of fun. Everybody's following me doing it. So if you want to check it out, go to High Road to Humanity. Larry, it was a pleasure. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you, Nancy. It's been delightful. It's wonderful meeting you and sharing with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We'll see you again, hopefully. All right, you guys, everybody take care and God bless.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the higher road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.